Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, um, I, there was a number of fights in recent memory, in the recent last 3 weeks or so, that I've missed that I didn't really make videos about. So I basically earlier today I went binge watching a bunch of fights that I missed, and I'm gonna be making videos about them and just giving my overall assessment of the fight. So the fight, as you can see by the title, the fight that I'm gonna be talking about here will be this past Friday's fight between Maurice Hooker and Alex Saucedo. Now, this is a fight that I wanted to watch, but I had to get my rest and I had to work the next day, so I couldn't stay up for it. But man, what a fight! What a fight! Let me just say that Maurice Hooker has come along. I have to give credit where credit is due because Maurice Hooker, if we go back and we look at the Darlius Perez fight, which ironically is at the time I'm shooting this video, is basically 2 years to the day since he fought Darlius Perez on the Kovalev Ward undercard. He has come a long way since that fight. He's done some great things in his career. Obviously in this fight right here with Alex Saucedo, he was able to get the 7th round stoppage, but he's carved out a decent little career for himself. Especially with his last two fights. Going on the road earlier this year, beating Terry Flanagan in a fight in which I thought he deserved the decision. So it was justified in getting it. And then Alex Saucedo, now this is a fight that I thought was 50-50. It was dead even, going the whole week. And he's come a long way since that fight. Regardless of the result, in terms of the actual performances, Maurice Hooker has come a long way because if you go back and you watch the Darlius Perez fight, he looked very weak. He looked like he didn't fully know who he was in the ring. He knew he was long and he was rangy, but you didn't really see him throwing the right hand with the kind of sharpness he throws it now. You didn't see him putting together his punches the way he does now. And in his last couple of fights, I think we've really seen the growth of Maurice Hooker. So, you got to give credit where credit is due. But this fight was interesting for so many reasons, and I'll lay them out for you. So, for me, when Hooker got the decision with Terry Flanagan, my question was always, how long will he be able to hold that title? How good of a champion can this guy be? How many good opponents or noteworthy title defenses could he make? So when they put him in there with Alex Saucedo, what you got to understand from the business side of things in boxing, right? So Saucedo he was a pretty solid amateur coming up. He forged a good reputation. Sparring the likes of Earl Spence. And he has a fan-friendly style, and Top Rank was able to overpay Maurice Hooker that money to get him to come to Oklahoma City. So Maurice Hooker was once again coming on the road, in this case, to defend his title. And he actually, even though he was a champion, he was really the B-side fighter because this was a top-ranked card. He is a, DAZN/Rock Nation fighter. And, he was on the road. The only reason he took the fight was because, for one, he thought he could win. And two, because Top Rank overpaid him. Simple as that. And the reason Top Rank overpaid him was because they genuinely believed that Alex Saucedo could, dethrone Maurice Hooker. I think Saucedo only made $400K. Hooker walked out with about $1.2 million. So they really took a gamble here. And generally speaking, Top Rank has some of the best matchmakers in boxing. So if they take these kind of gambles, normally for them, they pay off. They're that good. But Saucedo had pretty much all he had to do, because literally Top Rank was gearing up to pair Saucedo and match him up with Jose Ramirez, the other big fighter at the other big name 140, WBC champion, beat Amir Imam earlier this year. Very fantastic fighter. That would have been a great fight because those two are both Mexicans, both come forward styles. Obviously, Jose Ramirez is a lot more accomplished, or more accomplished than Saucedo. But if you've seen Saucedo fight, you saw his fight earlier this year at Lenny Z. That might be the fight of the year. It would make sense to pair those two in the ring. So all he had to do was beat Maurice Hooker. And let's just go round by round because I have it right here on my phone, my notes and stuff. So round one, man. These two both started off, with good pace. You saw Hooker being the longer man, and just to put into context, this guy has an 81-inch reach advantage. Okay, Vladimir Klitschko's reach advantage is about 80 or 82 or something like that, somewhere in that range. So he's basically pushing a Vladimir Klitschko-esque reach at the weight class, and he has quickness to boot with that reach. So when used properly, it makes him a very dangerous fighter. And in round one, Hooker and Saucedo, they started off a good pace. You had Hooker, throwing his jab, trying to keep Saucedo at the end of it. You had Saucedo trying to cut the distance and gain his own real estate on the inside and work to the body. So it was one of those kind of fights. Early on, I thought Hooker landed a couple nice jabs, but Saucedo really early on, he established a good pace and a good rhythm. He was able to gain real estate and just do some really good work on the inside. So I gave him round one. And Hooker early on, Hooker a lot of times he likes to throw his jab from his waist. So a lot of fighters, particularly like quick twitch fighters. So guys like we'll say Andre Ward did this a lot. Josh Kelly does this a lot. The guys with good reflexes, they can get away with jabbing from their waist, and Hooker was kind of employing that. But early on in round one, Saucedo was able to gain good positioning on Hooker, work to the body, and he was able to win round one. So I gave him round one. Just to give you some context of what kind of pace was set in the first round of this fight, Maurice Hooker threw 109 punches in round one. Saucedo threw 78, so a lot of leather was being thrown, and you knew early on this was going to be a really good fight. So we go to round two. This is the round where Saucedo really began to establish himself more. He caught Maurice Hooker. Maurice Hooker threw a right that fell short, and he countered the right hand with his over right hand of his own, and he scored a knockdown in round two, and pretty much dominated the majority of the round up until about the latter 10 seconds. Maurice Hooker started to throw some punches and show some aggression towards the latter stages of round two, and he actually kind of buzzed Saucedo, but regardless, it was a 10-8 round. So Saucedo through 2 rounds has already established himself. He knows how he wants to fight. He's established how he is fighting, and it's happening in the first 2 rounds. He's already got 3 points on Maurice Hooker. So we go down to round 3, and like many times in boxing, when you have fights start off very quickly, the pace slowed down. Hooker in this round seemed to find himself a little more, settle in a little bit, and getting hit a lot less in this round. Keeping him on the end of that jab a little more, and scoring his own series of right hands. And Saucedo, for all the good things he did, it's crazy because Saucedo, for all the great things he was doing on the inside, he doesn't move his head. He would not move his head off the line. And because he never moved his head off the line, he made it easier for Maurice Hooker to find the range, to find him with those right hands. And he did that repeatedly. And it started in this round. So yeah, Hooker scoring right hands, and you can start to see a little confidence being built up. Saucedo's doing his good work of his own, but I thought Hooker won this round. So Hooker wins his first round of the fight in round 3. Round 4, at this point of the fight, this is Hooker's best work. He's really settled in into a good rhythm of movement. He's pot shotting from the outside. He's countering Saucedo from the outside. He's neutralizing him. He's neutralizing his movement. He is getting him off track mentally, because what Saucedo wanted to do was press, push the pace, hurt that body, and maybe counter him with the over right hand or just do that. Saucedo is an Abel Sanchez trained fighter, and unfortunately for a lot of these Abel Sanchez trained fighters, we see a common pattern with them that they tend to headhunt. They don't tend to focus on the body as much as they should have. We can go to Triple G and see this problem. We can go to Murat Gassiev and see this problem, but it seems to be a recurring problem with his fighters this year. So round 4 is really where all this started for Saucedo. He got away from what made him successful in those first 2 rounds, right? So then Hooker was scoring a barrage of right hands in round 4, and just really good round from Maurice Hooker. So yeah, round 5, Saucedo begins to establish himself a little more. Saucedo in round 5, he had pretty much Maurice Hooker pinned to the ropes for the majority of the round. You saw Hooker trying to roll the shots, probably trying to get Saucedo to expend a little energy and punch himself out. So he was catching a lot of the shots, but Saucedo was landing them. Some of them were clean shots, some of them were grazing shots, and overall, Saucedo, yeah, he controlled this round. Hooker kind of took this round off. Not it was intentional. It was to get Saucedo mentally back in the fight, and maybe get him to punch himself out. And then later on, you saw Hooker hit Saucedo with a barrage of punches in the latter stages of the fifth round. But this is a round that Saucedo clearly controlled in terms of the way it was fought and the amount of punches landed. So I gave him this round. So at this point, we got Saucedo up 3-2 heading into round 6. So Saucedo's up in this fight by about 2 points at this point in time, and it's setting up for a great next couple rounds. So round 6, Maurice Hooker has once again slowed the pace down. You don't see Saucedo gaining as much ground on the inside or leverage with his lead foot to land those body shots and do what he wants to do to Maurice Hooker. So then you see him, not throwing as many punches. He's not moving his head off the line, so you kind of see him going up in a shell like this, and it just makes Maurice Hooker's life a lot easier. He's keeping him on the end of that jab. He's doubling up on the right. He's occasionally mixing up some punches, and it was really great stuff from Maurice Hooker. And it's like I was watching this round, and I was saying to myself, I said, man, is this the same guy that fought Darlius Perez 2 years ago? Because this guy looks like he's gotten a lot better as a fighter, and he's really been putting that work in the gym. He's jabbing Saucedo and he's walking him into counters. Like literally, he would jab Saucedo, maybe take a step or two back. Saucedo just comes forward with his hands up, not really moving right or left, just stationary with his shoulders, and no real movement whatsoever. No dipping, no nothing, no dips with the no hip movement, no shoulder movement, no head movement, no nothing. You can see him keeping his head on the line, throwing the occasional jab, resetting, jab, reset, and because of this, Maurice Hooker was able to walk him into counter after counter after counter. So Hooker won this round clear as day. I have it, 3 rounds apiece. Hooker down by a point going into the 7th round. And this is the round where Hooker's outside fighting his ability to slow down the pace of the fight in terms of what Saucedo was doing and not allowing Saucedo to gain the real estate on the inside. This allowed him to just hit Saucedo with just a ton of right hands, combinations, and eventually he would double up on that right hand or land a single right hand on Saucedo. I think it was the first knockdown, the first technical knockdown of the fight. He hit Saucedo with a right hand so hard, like they were in the middle of the ring. He hit Saucedo so hard with the flush right hand, so hard that he went flying basically to the back of the ropes. The ropes held him up basically, and basically when you can't really stand and the ropes have to hold you up, it scored as technical knockdown. So he got the first knockdown of his career. Saucedo was now asked that question. And when a fighter gets knocked down for the first time in their career, it's a big deal because you really learn more about who the fighter is in those moments than if they were just a fight where they dominated someone. So we learned about Hooker, we learned about Saucedo in this moment. Saucedo didn't really tie Hooker up. And he didn't really try to do much. He was basically at Hooker's will because Hooker was fighting at this point. He's fighting with a lot of confidence. And then when you add in the fact that the combinations he was putting together, these 3, 4, 5 punch combinations he's putting together, the 81-inch reach, the quickness in which the punches are thrown, the sharpness in which the punches are thrown. I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing from Maurice Hooker. And, the guy's making me a believer. Slowly but surely, the guy's making me a believer because, he's an interesting fighter because he's not – you look at him and he has some things that he does at an elite level, but you don't necessarily look at Maurice Hooker and say that guy is this elite fighter. But he has like the 81-inch reach advantage and the quickness that comes with it. That's something that you cannot teach. He just has it. And he's worked on it and he's getting better at it. And I was just very impressed with how he was able to finish Saucedo, as far as in terms of the combinations, in terms of just all that stuff, man. So, his man comes, he gets stopped in the 2nd round, and you gotta put it. I always try to put myself in the fighter's shoes. Like, this man is a world champion. He's making the first title of his first title defense on the road, so he knows in the back of his mind that the only reason he's making this title defense on the road is because Top Rank paid him all this money. They took that calculated risk because they thought Saucedo was good enough to beat him, right? And he was in hostile territory. There was a very good crowd there in Oklahoma City for Alex Saucedo. It sounded like a damn Thunder game. They were cheering OKC the whole freaking fight. And when you get knocked down in the first 2 rounds of your first title defense on the road in hostile territory, it'd be very easy to fold. But that's not what Hooker did. Hooker kind of buckled down right after that knockdown, and you saw round by round everything he did from that point forward was done with intentionality. It was done with purpose, and he really focused in his efforts on what he had to do and how he had to execute his fight plan to beat Alex Saucedo. And just overall, very, very impressed with Maurice Hooker. And I never thought I'd say this, man. After watching the Dalia's press 2 years ago, I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be sitting here talking about this guy was in a fight of the year candidate. This guy is a world champion making a title defense on the road. These are not words that I ever thought would come out of my mouth 2 years ago when I watched this man stink up the T-Mobile Arena against Dalia's Perez. But it just goes to show you, man, if a fighter puts the work into the gym, they can improve. It shows that, in boxing, not every fighter is not the same. And, most fighters, unless you're like the Floyd Mayweathers, the Pacquiaos of the world, most fighters, they always fight up or dramatically down on a fight-by-fight basis. It's seldom you see fighters be able to maintain just great performance at the great performance. There's only a handful of fighters that do that in boxing, like your Lomachenkos, your Floyds, your Pacquiaos, Roman Gonzalez, guys like that. They tend to do that almost anytime they fight someone. So, just overall really good performance. And now we got to ask ourselves, though, where does Maurice Hooker go from here? Because his last 2 fights, he's fought on the road. He went to England. He went to England, fought Terry Flanagan, got the belt there. Then he came in against all odds, really against all odds, to fight Alex Saucedo, a great game, tough fighter, who a lot of people picking to win this fight. I was going back for who I thought would win this fight all weekend. I didn't make an official prediction, but I went back and forth. There were times where I thought Hooker could win, and there were times where I thought Saucedo could win. I thought it was a very even fight, and I think Maurice Hooker has earned himself. Definitely, he's earned himself a fight in his hometown. Because when you win a world title on the road, and then you defend it on the road, and take a guy's O as well, and stop him in the process when he knocked down earlier in the fight, you deserve to get a fight in your hometown. So Maurice Hooker, being from Dallas, he should be getting a fight somewhere in Dallas, his next fight. And Eddie Hearn did say. Just for those of you who do know, Eddie Hearn did say he is planning a DAZN show for next year for Maurice Hooker, which I think is great. He did list 3 opponents, so I'll run through them. The 3 opponents that were listed for Maurice Hooker's next title defense in Dallas sometime next year were as follows. Number 1, Jorge Linares. Number 2, Chris Algieri. And number 3, Tommy Coyle. So I'll go through all of them. Tommy Coyle is a guy that just fought Ryan Chilzeski or whatever his name is, the guy from Boston. He fought him on the undercard of what's his name, Demetrius Andrade versus Kakodanda, whatever his name is, last month. He had a good showing against Ryan Chilzeski, so I wouldn't mind seeing that. That seems like a good opponent for him. Chris Algieri will be actually making his return to the ring later, a couple days actually. This would be his first fight since getting blasted out of the ring by Earl Spence a couple years ago. I was at that fight. So that was fun to watch in person. So I wouldn't be mad at that either. Algieri's definitely game, former world champion, good boxer. Not mad about that at all if it comes about, because Chris Algieri he's a good boxer and tough as nails. Not a bad hometown fight. And then last but not least, Jorge Linares. He just moved up to 140. I think he stopped Abner Cotto in his first fight at 140, and he's coming off a year in which he didn't get the Mikey Garcia fight that he was promised late last year because Mikey ducked him, and then now Jorge Linares, then he lost Lomachenko in a fight that he was basically winning, and now he's 140 trying to capture some glory there. So there's a lot of questions as if Linares can compete at 140, because he's always been known as a chinny fighter. For all the skills he's always had, he's developed a reputation as a chinny fighter. And I think the fight against Maurice Hooker will be really interesting because Hooker Let me see. Make sure before I say this, I want to make sure I'm correct in what I'm thinking. Okay, so I was wrong. So yeah, I think Linares would be an interesting fight because just because the pedigree, he's on the wrong side of 30. So I mean, I don't want to say it's an easier fight for Hooker, but it's a fight that you would think the guy Maurice Hooker would have a 12-inch reach advantage in that fight. He's in his prime. He's coming in with a lot of momentum, and you would be led to believe he's going to get better. So, good options there. I wouldn't be mad at any one of those 3 fights, but I definitely think Maurice Hooker should he's earned a fight in Dallas. And I hope Eddie Hearn follows with that promise to get him a fight in Dallas and fight in front of his hometown fans. And last but not least, because I've been rambling for 20 minutes, because this fight was just so good. It was also stated that there will be Eddie Hearn, DAZN, Matchroom Boxing USA, and all parties involved on that side of the pond will be exploring a unification fight with WBC champion Jose Ramirez sometime next year. So, I love that. I really love that. They're both those are 2 fighters right there that whether they want to do a show in California or Texas, I think it does good numbers anyway because Jose Ramirez has become a massive draw in Fresno. Maurice Hooker is building himself up a good little name. So, I wouldn't mind seeing it. And, it'd be another interesting fight because Jose Ramirez, he's basically Alex Saucedo, but, like, more polished, more skilled, and he actually moves his shoulders and his head. So, I think we would actually get this fight, but even better, which I think is, like, I think that's, like, crazy to think about because this fight was just so good. But, yeah, that's my take overall on the Maurice Hooker Alex Saucedo fight. It's got to be in the running for fight of the year. Big shout out to Alex Saucedo for giving the boxing fans 2 great fights this year. He had the fight earlier this year with Lenny Z, which will probably win fight of the year, and then he had this fight right here with Maurice Hooker, which will be a candidate for fight of the year. But objectively speaking, for Saucedo, where he goes from here, I think he just needs to take a couple fights against easier opposition, and he really needs to fine-tune the defensive skills of his fight game. Refine his style a little bit because you can't be in this many wars over and over again and expect to have a long career at the top level of the 140-pound division. I still think this is a guy in Saucedo that could be a world champion because he has some things that he does really, really well, but he has to clean up his defensive side, the defensive part of his game. Offensively, fun fighter to watch. Good jab, good fundamentals, goes to the body really well, but defensively, just not the best fighter in the world, and really needs to fine-tune that. And if he doesn't do that, he's not going to reach that world championship level that a lot of fighters have. A lot of people think he would reach. So, overall, just shout out to both these guys, man. I will definitely say I'm a fan of both fighters, and I'll probably watch this fight again in the next couple of weeks. It was just so good to me. So. Let me know what you guys think. Maurice Hooker, Alex Saucedo. Those are my thoughts, my evaluation of the fight, and what's coming up for Hooker on the horizon. Let me know in the comments down below. Take the time to subscribe. Like I say in every single video, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just kidding. So until next time, take care, guys.